iDriveSoCal is brought to you by the very best auto retailers from across Southern California. When it's time for you to buy, or even just kick the tires on the idea of buying, just go to iDriveSoCal.com and click on dealers. iDriveSoCal.com, click on dealers, and get connected. Now, on with the podcast.
The good news is that we created a phenomena that people from all over the United States and even the world came to visit. It became that famous without any PR publicity. It became that famous, and those people went back to their regions, their homes, and around the world and said, I want to do this here. And so now we have, I think, something over 80 different cars and coffees around the world. I'm very proud of what happened here and the impact it's had around the world to bring opportunity for car guys to come together and share their stories and share their love for each other. It doesn't matter if you love cars. You have fun hanging out. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or a gal. If you're a car guy, you're a car guy.
Welcome to iDriveSoCal, the podcast all about mobility in the automotive capital of the United States, Southern California. I'm your host, Tom Smith, and today I'm joined by automotive legend, Mr. Barry Meguiar. Barry is president of Meguiar's Car Care Products. He is the host of Car Crazy TV, which is a global television show, been on the air for almost 20 years. Just this year, he was inducted into the SEMA Hall of Fame, and he's one of the original participants and promoters of the unofficial car show that has really swept the entire United States and really in multiple countries around the world, Cars and Coffee. Barry, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to meet you and have the opportunity to sit here and speak with you.
Great to be with you, Tom.
First, just an overview of Cars and Coffee as it started here in Southern California, right?
Well, it did. It was actually an area identified as Crystal Cove. It's on the coast of Southern California, Orange County, be just south of Newport Beach, north of Laguna Beach, if you know that area. And it was kind of a new shopping center that went in, and just across the highway, you're looking at the ocean, so palm trees and all, and kind of a small shopping center. And we started, we didn't call it Cars and Coffee at that time. We called it just Crystal Cove. They were going to go to Crystal Cove. It was the insider thing, you know. And Southern California is kind of full of car guys, so it's not how you just kind of wave at somebody, you have a crowd. And so we kind of filled that shopping center pretty quickly and just started this camaraderie. And that went for several years. And then, unfortunately, the Irvine Company, I don't mind saying it, it was the Irvine Company. It wasn't the neighbors. The neighbors never complained. The Irvine Company said it was the neighbors. No. Okay. The Irvine Company said it was the police. No, actually, I actually talked to the police, and they said we didn't have any more complaints when you were there than when you weren't there. It wasn't the police. It wasn't anybody. It was just the Irvine Company that decided Donald Brennan, who owns the Irvine Company, is kind of anti-car guy. I don't mind saying it. And he just stopped it. And I put together a group after they shut it down with folks at Fashion Island, big shopping center. Right. I had the tourist bureau in. I had everybody in the area, and city council, the police, everybody. And the guy of the Irvine Company said, this is a non-starter. It's not going to happen. And that stopped us in our tracks. So we had no place to go. But one of the original guys that helped start the first one that was there, he didn't actually start Crystal Cove. His name's John Kleiner. There are a lot of others too. I'll get myself in trouble if I start mentioning names, but John is my number one hero. Head of PR for Ford for the Western region.
Oh, okay.
And John is just such a car guy and has quite a few cars himself. And he called a meeting and he said, okay, let's have a meeting. About 12 of us met at Ford headquarters there. And we got up a chalkboard and we listed all the places that we could possibly go. And we had probably 15 different locations that were possibly large enough. So we each took some. We went out, started looking to see who might be open to having car guys coming in at 5:30 in the morning, you know. And we couldn't find one. And so John said, well, until we find one, why don't we've got a parking lot here and we could certainly host it here. So for a temporary basis, because the next Saturday was the last Saturday at Crystal Cove and there was no database. Nobody's ever collected names. So if we didn't get word out that next Saturday, everybody'd be scattered. Right. So we were down to Tuesday of that week, and Saturday was our last Crystal Cove car show. So we had great pressure on us. We have to go somewhere. Right. So it's pressure. So finally, out of desperation, we couldn't go in. And John says, let's just have them meet here. We can do it here, and that'll give us a place until we find a real place to go. We said, oh, can we do that? Yeah, we can do that. And they have quite a large parking area and trees scattered throughout it. It's not just straight asphalt, but it's quite pretty, you know. And so we went, we put the word out, and the first Saturday we had a lot more than we had at Crystal Cove because we had more room. And it grew and it grew and it grew until it was mind-boggling. And John, I'm not sure if John came up with it by himself. I don't remember exactly how the name came to be, but John was integral to it.
Right.
Of coming with this name, Cars and Coffee. He created the name. He didn't copyright the name, didn't feel like he should, didn't want to have ownership on it. Just a car guy. Right. It's like his gift to the car hobby, you know. So let's just call it Cars and Coffee. And it just grew like crazy. I did 2 Car Crazy TV shows there over a period of time. It went for a lot of years. He called me one day. He said, Barry, I have an unusual request. I said, what's that? He says, don't run that episode anymore, please. Don't run that episode anymore.
It was getting too much.
He says, when you run that episode, we get more people we can handle. We get people mad at us. I don't want people mad, and I don't want to turn anybody away. So we don't need any promotion. So please don't do that anymore. All right? I love you, but don't run your Car Crazy TV show anymore on Cars and Coffee. So we laughed. Cars and Coffee is wonderful because, I mean, there's a 19 whatever, and then there's a 2007, 8, or concept car, and everything in between. It's just a surprise. And anybody gets up that early is pretty passionate. Even the people that don't have cars, they're passionate. So it was one of the great experiences of our lives. Car guys are special. I say that on the TV show, but I mean it. And I have some expertise on that because I travel the world. I know the car highway really, really well. And I can tell you, car guys are the same the world over. If you're a kid growing up in a car guy family, there's no question you're going to be a better adult because you learn work ethic, you learn respect, responsibility, you honor your mom and dad, you have quality time, if not hundreds of hours of time with your dad, whether you're the daughter or the son, to work on that car. And guess what? You're not talking about cars all the time. You can talk about life, you can talk about God, you can talk about guys and girls and life and everything. But the whole thing of car guys and what they'll do for you, I think it's the greatest fraternity in the world. And so when you get in a region where you can meet week after week after week, and it was not just a few months in California, we can meet year round, almost never rains in California. And for our case, civilization started moving in around, and it wasn't that anybody was doing anything wrong, but all of a sudden you got condos or whatever, you got homes around, people are starting to say, I don't like the sound of, how could they not like the sound of a V8 rolling down the road at 5:30 in the morning? I don't get that, but some people don't like that, I guess. I don't know, just go figure. And they start complaining, and all of a sudden the complaints come, and so Ford finally had to say, we're getting enough complaints that we're going to have to shut it down. Right. And so that last morning, it was in the wintertime, and so it was
like 2015,
it was cold,
right?
Yeah, and we were there in the dark, and everybody was like in tears. I mean, we just hugged each other, and some of those people I've not seen since. The good news is that we created a phenomena that people from all over the United States, even the world, came to visit. It became that famous without any PR publicity. It became that famous, and those people went back to their regions, their homes, and around the world and said, I want to do this here. And so now we have, I think, something over 80 different cars and coffees around the world that John Kleiner, and let me tell you, Linda Kleiner, she's almost more responsible. John's wife. I mean, you expect the car guy to do it, right? But at the driveway every morning, John was usually there. Linda was always there. She'd get there 5:30. How many of you car guys listening right now would have your wife standing beside you, or even if you couldn't make it, she's there at 5:30 every Saturday morning with her smile.
Maybe once.
Welcome everybody in. They are my all-time heroes, the car hobby. I mean, they're just amazing, amazing people. And we've tried to duplicate it. We have been all over Orange County trying to find a venue where we could do it again. And some have gotten traction for a little while and done well, and then neighbors complain and they've gone away. And we have one now that's looking pretty good, and it may survive. But we've been all these years trying to find, to reproduce what we had here.
In which location is the current one that you're talking about?
Well,
'cause I know it's splintered.
Yeah, well, there's the one down by the outlet stores down San Clemente.
Okay.
That's really catching traction. So it's pretty cool. But I'm very proud of what happened here and the impact it's had around the world to bring opportunity for car guys to come together and share their stories and share their love for each other.
In Crystal Cove. That was a morning thing, a Saturday morning thing?
Yeah, got there like at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and started that. I was late. I was a latecomer. I didn't get there till after I'd been doing it for 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't come till about a month into it, and then I was there. I was hooked after that.
What year was that?
Oh, my. Now you're really testing me. If you're suggesting that we close. That sounds right. That we had to stop in 2015. We were at Ford for more than 10 years. My guess is we were there for 10, 12 years.
Okay.
So
then Crystal Cove was before that for 3-4 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So go back 2000, 2003, something like that. I don't know.
It was a couple months before the Ford location shut down. I went and visited a friend of mine in Texas who had just moved with his company. State Farm was here and then moved to Texas. I went there and we had spent the night catching up, having cocktails, whatever, wee hours. And the next thing I know, he's waking me up saying, we got to go to this car show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? We've been sleeping for like 2-3 hours. What are you talking about? And we went, and that was my first Cars and Coffee. And it was technically in Plano, but I mean, as you say, there was every socioeconomic, represented. There was, and the money that was, there was a section of McLarens and a section of Bugattis and a section of Model Ts and a section of muscle. And it was like, this is crazy. And lo and behold, wow, wait, this all started right down in Irvine.
Yeah. What you said there, I think, is very significant. The car hobby has none of the regular social barriers. I mean, that's one of the things I love about it so much. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's not a matter of money. You have some guy that's got his exotic car. You got some guy that's got his rat rod. It doesn't matter. If you love cars, you're having fun hanging out. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or a gal. If you're a car guy, you're a car guy.
So did the TV show... obviously you have it in your blood, but did the TV show somehow, was it inspired or did it come out of Cars and Coffee?
No. Gracious, no. Way before that. What inspired the TV show was, frankly, and it's hard to even imagine now, but the car hobby, if you go back 25 years ago, the car hobby was suffering. It was going down. Car clubs were disbanding. Car shows were having fewer people all the time. And we look at our business, the only people wax their cars are car guys. I looked at SEMA. I'm a big part of SEMA, thinking everybody at SEMA is dependent on car guys, Right. It's not regular consumers that buy all those aftermarket things. It's car guys. If we don't have car guys, we're all in trouble. Somebody needs to do something. But it happens that the car hobby is not like motorsports. Motorsports has, governing, sanctioning bodies, and they want another motorsports event over here. We need another NASCAR event there. They do that. But in the car hobby, it's all over the world the same. I love this car. I really, really love it. I find somebody else who loves the same car. You really? Hey, let's take our cars on Friday. Let's both drive our cars down to whatever. And you do that, and all of a sudden some other guys come along and say, hey, we like those cars too. We got some. So all of a sudden, hey, let's form a club, And then they say, hey, there's some other guys over yonder that they like to say, let's have a car show. That's basically how the car hobby happens. It's grassroots. It's the ultimate grassroots. How do you grow that? So we kept saying, somebody's got to step up and grow that. And one day, the gal that ran corporate communications for us, Leslie Kennedy, she said, Barry, Roger Werner started this new channel called Speed Vision, and about everybody there is in the car hobby. All these guys. You could interview them. I said, nobody's going to listen to an interview show. Right? No, but you could talk about their passion. Talk about why they're so passionate. I said, well, we need to come up with a name. So it hit me this name, Car Crazy, and we ended up getting a trademark. And then we looked at it always as not selling car wax per se. Of course we want to sell car wax.
Sure.
But we need more car guys. So my focus was, how do we get more car guys? We're going to have more people with good values. I've said it with tongue in cheek, but really meant it. If we had more car guys, we'd have less wars. We'd have less racial tension. So I've been on a mission for 25 years of how do I get more people in the car hobby? Because when we do that, SEMA will grow, we'll grow. But that's secondary to a higher thing of just get more kids to grow up with values, work ethic. I can say this without hesitation. I'm a better person. Every car guy can say this without hesitation. I'm a better person. I have better friends because I'm a car guy. So anyway, I think whether people understand that part of it or not, they're a part of it. And Cars and Coffee are making it happen. And that's something all over the world.
And it's unofficial, I guess, is the thing that's always boggled my mind. From the very first time in 2015, and I actually had planned on making the last event in the Ford parking lot, but then that last event was actually canceled because the event before that was too big, right?
Exactly right. We had a sense it was the last one, but that was one of the highlights of my life. I've celebrated a lot of things, been to a lot of emotional events. I count that as one of the very highest privileges of my life to have been there that last day.
As we move towards more and more technology, and I got my license I think in 1986.
Okay.
And I couldn't get it fast enough.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it fast enough, and I was working on junkers that I was hoping was going to be in my car way before that. And But now, manufacturers are concerned that kids aren't so much in a rush to get their license anymore. What do you think happens? How do you think that impacts the car hobby moving forward?
Well, it's our biggest challenge. There's no question about it. I have in my own family one grandson that turned 16 and didn't care. In my own family, hanging around my cars and all the cool experience, taking car shows in my own family. I have one. I have 5 grandsons. It is a concern, obviously. It really is. I don't know where that's going to take us. I hate to even speculate. I'm going to enjoy the present. I am thankful for technology, what it's doing for performance and design. I mean, we've got cars. And, isn't it interesting now that you don't have to spend a lot of money to have style and performance?
Yeah.
I love it that without getting into the specific cars, but I mean, you cover them, there's a lot of relatively inexpensive cars that I'd be proud to drive. I mean, they're cool. But that's obviously, Tom, I mean, that is the biggest challenge to the car hobby as we know it today. It's a big one. And wherever I speak to car guys, they say we all have a personal responsibility to hedge against that. And so when we see a young person looking at our car, strike up a conversation and ask if they have any questions. And if their parents are there, you can say, can I let them sit in the car? And we each one need to be an evangelist for the car hobby. And I think that's the number one responsibility we have. If we're going to save this car hobby and all the good things that come out of it beyond the cars, then we need to take personal responsibility to make sure that we hand this car hobby down to the next generation.
What do you think about the idea that the fuel combustion engine is going to be only something that we find in museums in the not so distant future? Everything's going to be electric.
Well, I'm finding it quite interesting, actually. The Tesla, I didn't think would ever catch on with car guys, but to the contrary. In the end, car guys like cars that look good and go fast.
And that does check, right?
And I tell you what, that Tesla is mind-boggling. Gerald Barnes, who owns all the exotic car dealerships in Newport Beach, great friend of mine, and he can have anything he wants, and he drives a Tesla.
Daily driver?
Yeah. And I said, Gerald, that would be like me using X brand wax, He says, Barry, a Ferrari guy is going to buy a Ferrari. It doesn't matter what kind of car I have. He's going to buy a Ferrari. He's a Ferrari guy.
Right.
So it makes no difference to them at all. But for me, I've driven them all. I don't get a discount on a Tesla. But this Tesla's an amazing car. So, it is what it is. And the performance, the acceleration, it's mind-boggling. So I miss the visceral sound. Some people played around with having an imitation sound or whatever. But the sound of the V8, quite frankly, is, I think, the number one ambassador for America worldwide.
I want to say what's in your garage, but I'm assuming that's either a really big garage or there's multiple garages.
Probably the most asked question I get asked is, what kind of cars do you collect? And it's the one question I don't answer for this one reason. Because of the show, because of radio and television, and because of my products. I want everybody to love me, all right? I want everybody to love my products. So if they pigeonhole me into being a certain type of car guy,
right?
When I go there, they'll say, well, we're glad you're here, but we know you're not really one of us.
Fair
you're
enough.
One of those guys, right?
Fair enough.
So I have never advertised the types of cars I have. People locally here know because I drive my cars, every one of them. They're all cars that I love. I don't believe in just having cars set. And they all have a special purpose for me.
From your perspective, I think you have some unique insight and contacts. How far out are we from actually experiencing flying cars running around Southern California?
I don't hear a lot of talk about that. I sit with the car makers at the end of the day at Pebble Beach on Sunday, as with the heads of design for several of the car makers, and fascinating discussion on technology and where it's going and all that. Talked about everything. It's wonderful sitting and getting to be a part of those kind of conversations. Well, I never heard flying car mentioned. That's that's not top of mind for them at the moment.
What about the autonomous driving aspect?
Well, that very much is. Yeah, they all talked about that a lot. So that's coming. It's coming, I think, probably faster than some of us might realize. So, and that's a little bit of a challenge for us as well. I don't like the thought of everybody just calling up a driver's Uber and have a pod pull up and take us to our destination. I'm not real excited about that concept.
Right.
So the car makers feel like that will be a role. To the last one, they all, because I'm saying, why are you advancing this? You're car guys. Why on earth would you want to go that way? Well, you got to follow technology and they can't be left behind. So the pressure moves on. You have to do that. But they're all convinced that will be a part of the market, but that's going to be serve its purpose. But people are never going to get away from the ethereal experience of driving driving a car and the whole driving experience of having control and independence, and it goes on and on. Freedom. They've done a lot of research on that, and they are rock solid believe that's going to go on forever, and the driverless thing will play its role, but it'll be for some applications. But for the mainstay, people keep wanting to have their independence and freedom and control driving a car wherever they want.
Well, Mr. Meguiar, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this talk and appreciate your time. While we have the podcast running, is there anything else that you might want to cover?
Yeah, wax your car today. Go buy Meguiar's.
Thank you again very much. So much appreciate your time and all the historical facts you can share with us.
Yeah.
And
well, I am historical. Sometimes hysterical, but always historical. Thank you, and congratulations again on your show, and let's do it again sometime.
I would love to do that. That was Mr. Barry Meguiar. This is iDriveSoCal. Thank you so much. I'm Tom Smith. Until next time.